Hi, my name is Jackie Santella, and I did my creative project on a critique of feminist literature with a focus on quite a few authors, but today I'll be focusing on one author in particular, Audre Lorde. So before I read my thesis, I just wanted to give a brief background of what I found in my own research, which is that the original beginnings of the feminist movement were found in Greece in the medieval world. Though there's not much documentation to give us a real look into that, that's when they first started seeing the unification of women. And the first signs of this within the United States came in the 1960s with the Equal Rights Amendment and the fight for reproductive rights. The second wave movement, which is where a lot of my critical essay takes place in, is where the voices of literary women started to become more prominent. And then from here, literature within the movement has changed and developed into what we see today, though with many setbacks and many successes to mention. So I'll read my thesis now, which is, Frieden and Rich, as well as many other authors of the time, have greatly influenced the work of modern-day feminist writers by allowing them to bring relevant topics such as intersectionality to the discussion. The themes of their work continue to show up time and time again in the 2000s, even as issues change and evolve, while also challenging where those of the past have fallen short. So a brief background of what I actually talk about in my essay is the four waves of feminism, the shortcomings and successes of each wave, prominent authors such as Betty Friedan, Audre Lorde, and Adrienne Rich, intersectionality, which happens to be the biggest theme throughout my entire project, and finally, a comparison between modern-day authors of the past and common themes that they share throughout. So the woman I mentioned before, Audre Lorde, rose to fame due to her critique of the second wave of feminism. She embraced the differences of others and encouraged them to unify together despite these differences. Lorde was a writer of poems, fiction, and essays reaching many different audiences. She wanted readers to be able to enjoy her work despite their preference of poetry or fiction or essays. And her biggest critique was of the second wave was for its lack of consideration for women who were not white and upper middle class, as it was very commonly called the white women's movement in the very early stages. I wanted to share this quote. I have another one that I'll end with, but I also like this one. I simply do not believe that one aspect of myself can possibly profit from the oppression of any other part of my identity. Audre Lorde was self-described as black, lesbian, feminist, socialist, mother, warrior, and poet. And she was very outspoken about the idea of intersectionality, which is different forms of oppression cannot be separated from one another. Her work has paved the way for modern-day writers to embrace their individual identities within the feminist movement, and much of what we see today could not have happened had it not been for authors like Audre Lorde and Adrienne Rich and Betty Friedan, who chose to speak out against injustices they saw in their own world. So a quote I wanted to end with also comes from this essay, A Hierarchy of Oppressions. I cannot afford the luxury of fighting one form of oppression only. I cannot afford to believe that freedom from intolerance is the right of only one group. So from here, I'd like to give it to the rest of my classmates who continue to show these ideas of intersectionality and social justice in their own impressive work. Thank you.